Story 1. I have decided to post my story here after leaving a forum about the following subject matter, due to their narrow-minded and dictatorial view. Before beginning the story, I should point out that these experiences have been happening on and off over the past few years. It's pretty much began as others who have the same experience describes it, such as tingling sensations at the lower body with a sexual type reaction. This seemed to go on forever with what would seem like no end and would progress to what seemed like the energy or feather-like weight on top of me moving in a rocking motion. However, it's the recent events which has left me surprised and a bit confused. There was a time while lying in bed, I felt either a gentle blow or a touching of my hair, and this only happened once. There have been also dreams such as a naked woman laying or sitting on top of me. All I could see beside her nude body was her blonde hair, but I could not see her face. With paranormal activity occurring on a nightly basis, I decided to do a little investigation, and I purchased a digital recorder which I would set up before going to bed. The EVPs which were recorded were totally unexpected, such as a female voice saying such things as, "Be my lover, get back in your bed, says my name, I love you." The most surprising recording was that what sounded like a woman making sexual moaning sounds and then climbing off the bed and opening the bedroom door to leave. Well, this is the story for now. Sorry that it's not filled with more erotic details. I realize that this site is visited by people of all ages. I'm trying to be mindful and respectful. Comments are welcome, and thank you for reading my story. Story 2. 12 years ago, I had a lot of sexual urges. I'm a guy, so enough said. The experience I had happened to be with a succubus. Never seen the demonic tramp, but I knew it was that kind of demon. It happened for a week and I had no complaints about the sex I was having, but I knew it was not safe and healthy. The succubus name was Liva, and she loved young guys. She always came to my room wearing a tight red dress, had red lipstick on, and her eyes were bright orange. She was so hot that I was paralyzed even to do anything. I was asleep one night and she grabbed you know what, and she told me to just fall asleep. I wake up wet at times and numb. I went to the bathroom to clean myself off and I noticed that I had scars in my back. I knew she loved it rough, but damn, those are some brutal marks. I researched the succubus and the book confirmed that it was indeed a demon. I read and it also says it eats when it's hungry. I must do something about that demon and fast. It was my fault for letting her into my house because my heart was filled with lust. Lust is one of the worst deadly sins. One night, she came to my room hoping she'll get a quickie out of me. She noticed that there was a Bible near my dresser. She started to speak in Latin and she charged at me on top. I was paralyzed to speak, move, and even breathe. She was going to have sex with me until I died, she said. There was one thing I could do. I prayed inside my head and I thought of all the good things in life. Then slowly I murmured, "I don't want you anymore." She disbelieved me and she went on. I said it again, but this time it was loud. She got the message real quick. She knew my heart was not filled with lust anymore, but love. She had no choice but to leave. Until this day, she's never come back. If any of you have this sort of problem, do what I did and pray in your head. Demons can sense anything from the human perspective, so they can definitely sense a prayer inside a person's head. Until this day, I regret doing what I did. It's not like she wanted to hurt me on the spot, but eventually she did. Story 3. I'm a 26-year-old male and I live in India. About a year back, I broke up with my partner. I was very depressed after the breakup. I trusted that person very much. After the breakup, I started to stay up quite late. When I was off on days off from work, I would sit and browse the internet as well as interact with other people on the net, which helped ease my pain. I also visited porn sites, which I was interested and curious about as I've never had a sexual relationship as such. The days were going fine until a few weeks ago I only heard about demons or incubuses attacks and was thinking that it was some kind of psychological problem with people. However, I'm now being attacked by an incubus or ghost, which I'm not able to tell clearly. One night while sleeping, I awoke to the feel of someone touching my legs. I used to lock the room before I sleep. When I got up to have a look, no one was there. Later, while I was browsing, I felt a tingling sensation on my hairs and also on my shoulders. In the days that followed, these touches continued but moved to other parts of my body, which was not scary as such. About 3 weeks back, I started to feel touching sensations near my pubic sides and also on my penis. One night I just closed my eyes and I tried to concentrate to establish whether my mind was playing tricks on me or if this was a real phenomenon. The sensation was somewhat kind of feeble, pulsating touches with some silk thread or like a feeble electric current, which increased from the toes to head like passing electricity, in which I could feel that pulsation in my groin in a very intense manner and felt like someone was touching me. I quickly shook this feeling away and immediately laid on my side. Within seconds, I felt some pulsation on my back near my shoulders and also on my buttocks at the same time. I could feel that pulsation down on my anal opening as if some male was trying to have sex with me. I unlocked the door and went to my brother's room and slept in his room with the mattress on the floor. I am still sleeping in this room this very day as I'm not comfortable to sleep alone now. Even as I lay on the mattress in my brother's room, I still feel the sensations again and again. I never let that thing enter in me. I always shook it away, but these sensations come in waves. I am losing sleep and my asthma has been triggered again. I go to work and in the office I'm experiencing these sexual touches. This is really happening. It's not a dream or something. I can't tell anyone because here no one believes it. Please, someone help me by giving me suggestions to get rid of it. Story 4. There are a lot of incubus stories buzzing around. Some leads to confusions or questions about what's going on. Some people find resolution and some people are simply seeking help to get it to stop. Not long ago, about a few months ago, I was one of those people that just wanted it to never happen again. I've been sensitive since turning 7, and since the age of 12 I've had issues with incubi. They followed me from state to state and countless cities to cities. They attack in absolute silence, and I honestly feel that they want to make you want to feel the sensation of being satisfied. Nonetheless, they are demons and it is rape. Just because they disable you in the mind versus giving you a roofie does not make it any less than an assault. The sporadic on and off attacks used to come in waves, every other night to every night. Being okay with what was happening sounds disgusting, yes, to crying and begging for it to stop. Once while in college, I could feel it digging its nails in my back while doing its business, myself in sleep paralysis, completely aware of what was going on and no ability to stop it. At one point, even choked. When I tell you that it has the most soothing, rhythmic voice, I mean it. Displays of kindness that confuse after taking what is only yours to give. Such as lying next to you on your pillow and speaking softly and being consoling, wrapping an arm around you, a gentle kiss on the forehead, making it seem more like a wanted lover than an enemy. From one wave to the next, I did not know what to do until the last one. I am now in a very happy relationship that I am very protective of, so when an incubus that has been making casual stops by my room night after night thought that it could try at it again, usually I force myself out of sleep paralysis by trying to shake out of it. For the first time, I physically fought back. In similar reported stories, you feel as if something is there even though it's not. You feel like you are in a dream, but you are awake. They want to make you want them and sort of give yourself up. If you give the opposite emotion, they will try harder. In this case, he became as real as anyone standing in the room of me except invisible. I was completely awake and I could see my knees spread apart by some invisible hand. I could feel someone lying behind me asking, "Why won't you give yourself to me?" in that melodic, deep voice from the past. An earlier experience while I was sleeping on my stomach, it was on my back, and when I was tried to reach behind to see what it was, it grabbed and held my hand. I could feel 4 fingers and a thumb. So this time, I know that if I touch it, and it can touch me. Since I was lying on my side, I reached my hand behind my thigh to feel another's. I moved my hand up to feel a torso, and it felt like cloth. As it was too busy trying to get what it wanted, it seemed not to be bothered by my exploration of its skinny little body. It was very skinny, so I took my nails and dug them into his thigh as hard as I could. If I could gotten blood, I would have. When he didn't stop, I dug deeper into his rubbery, tough flesh. It didn't scream, it shook and left. Then immediately came back in front of me. This time I had to fight with my eyes closed, afraid to see what was in front of me. I kicked, I screamed, I told it it's not welcome. I pushed, I shoved, and it left. Earlier today, it tried again. I could feel it touch my arm with a single finger to see if I was in paralysis. But I know without a doubt what I do not want, and that is to be raped. Story 5. This took place when I was 16 years old. I had gone to the bed exhausted one night after having a full day of semester exams at my school. What I am about to describe is strange but true. I have no reason to lie about it. When this first started happening, I was so confused I thought I must still be dreaming. But I wasn't. I had woken up to the feeling of being moved up and down on my bed slightly but steadily. I opened my eyes to see what looked like a man on top of me. I felt I was being raped, but I was oddly in no pain and was not afraid, just very confused. Looking closer at him, I noticed that his skin was black, not just shadowed by the night. He wasn't African American colored, but literally jet black. I couldn't see any facial features except the white of his eyes. I don't even know if he had hair or not. In this dream, the window by my bed was open, and I never sleep with my window open. From the moonlight, I could see the shape of his body. He was a few inches taller than me, maybe 5'6" or 5'7", and he was very thin but very toned. His skin looked a little different from how human flesh looks. I couldn't see it perfectly, but judging by the moonlight, it was smooth looking but dry, and it still had a bit of a sheen. It was something similar to how a killer whale's skin looks. Though he looked smooth, when I felt his legs against mine, they felt a little rough. I don't know how to explain it. The skin itself was smooth one way, but rubbing the opposite way, it felt a little bumpy, similar to stroking hair the wrong way. Yet he had no hair that I could feel. He had his hands on my hips, and I remember his grip feeling very, very strong, almost as if I was stuck to his hands. I absorbed the detail of the situation quickly. My room looked exactly the same from when I could see it. Everything was proportional to how it looked in real life. I was wearing the same pajama clothes that I went to sleep in. Although my pants were pulled down, everything felt real besides my lack of pain. I was a virgin at the time, so I'm sure that it should have hurt. I didn't get sexually aroused by this and rather wanted him to stop. Because although I wasn't in pain, it felt very strange. I didn't move though, not that I couldn't, but I just didn't feel like bringing myself to move. I felt very tired and weak, being that I was suffering mildly from an eating disorder at the time, so I didn't ask him to stop or try to shove him away or even speak to him. In fact, I was only a part of this situation for roughly 30 seconds to a full minute before I fell back to sleep or transitioned into another dream. Honestly, I don't know what happened, but I stopped seeing and feeling this. The next morning, I woke up having only the same amount of memory that I did before. The only way that I could describe the feeling is similar to having been drunk the previous night and not really sure if the things you remembered from the night before really happened or not. I assure you, I had not been drinking though, and I've never done drugs. I sat up and I felt a strange soreness in my lower abs, but I wasn't bleeding or seriously hurt. My pants were right back to where they belonged and the window was once again closed. I went to stand up and I felt a strange, sticking feeling around my right hip bone. I checked and I found a piece of chewed bubble gum right on the inside waistband of my underwear. That part I found totally strange because it was not there the night before. It didn't get caught in the laundry. It was red and smelled fruity. Nobody in my house chewed fruity red gum. We all chewed white fresh or extra or big red, nothing with flavors. Except for my mom's ex-husband, he chewed juicy fruit, which was also whitish yellow but not red. I had a habit of falling asleep with gum in my mouth, but when I woke up this morning, it was still in my mouth, stuck to the back of my teeth, and it was a white piece, so this was not my gum I had just found. I had absolutely no understanding about the situation that night. I was fairly convinced that it was just a dream until I woke up sore and with the chewing gum in my underpants, but no blood. The day I woke up from it, I was very confused. I had studied the occult and paranormal very intently. I am or was a pagan satanic, so I already knew that he was either an incubus or completely a dream. I have read before that incubus are known to hurt humans less than their female counterparts, and I remember very specifically that he was not hurting me or being violent towards me. Eventually, I just put it out of my mind. I've never had an experience like that since. Do you think it was an incubus or just a dream? Has anyone ever had an experience where an incubi has left behind physical evidence of their being there? Story 6. My story actually happened a few months ago, and so far has not been repeated. I am a 39-year-old single female and I live alone. Prior to this experience, I would occasionally wake up remembering an extremely intense sexual dream. The dreams were always the same. I was having sex with someone that was familiar and comfortable to me, yet I couldn't place who it was. I remember nothing besides the physical sensations, pitch black darkness, and a voice. He never spoke to me, but I could barely just hear him breathing and moaning. The sexual experience was extremely intense, and I always awoke feeling satisfied and physically as if I had just had sex. On this particular morning, I had to get up earlier than usual and my alarm was set. I was in a dream like the one I described above when the alarm went off. I remember thinking, no, I didn't want it to stop. Everything was pitch black, but as the sound of the alarm started to bring me back to consciousness, I realized that the darkness was because I was staring into a pair of pitch black eyes that were only a few inches away from my face. It was as if the eyes had been holding me in a trance that I was now waking from. I could see the whites of his eyes, but no further. The entire iris was black as if the pupil covered it entirely. At the same time, the pleasant moaning voice I heard turned into a sort of a deep, throaty growl. I broke my gaze and I tried to look at the rest of his face, but at this point, it was as if he realized that I was no longer in the trance and he pushed back away from me. He was still inside me, and I could see his entire upper torso. He made a sound as if he were frustrated that we were interrupted. His voice sounded sort of like a demon in a movie, but not exactly. I had never heard anything quite like it. He reminded me a little of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He had shaggy-looking, very thick black hair. His beard is what looked like Wolverine, except it went up really high on his cheekbone, just below his eyes. He had a very cut, muscular body that was covered in sparse black hair. But it wasn't like regular body hair. It was straight black hair that all appeared to be about 2 to 3 inches long. It thickened a little on his chest, but he even had these long, sparse hairs on his stomach and upper arms. Other than the strange sounding growl, the one thing about him that really scared me was his teeth. He had extremely long canine teeth on both the top and the bottom. They sort of looked like cat teeth. The proportions of those 4 teeth were about the same as if a cat's head were the size of a human. I wonder how he could close his mouth. I found myself very frightened that he was going to bite me. He lowered his head a little and leaned in towards me, looking at my eyes as if he was trying to reestablish the trance that I'd been under. But the alarm finally pulled me away and I woke up completely. The entire episode took place in only a few seconds and I could hear the alarm the entire time. It could have been a dream, but was extremely vivid and didn't feel like a dream-like quality. I felt as if I were fully awake and actually seeing this man in front of me. And again, I felt as if I had physically just had sex. So the next day, I began researching this sort of thing on the internet. I came across other stories about Incubus. Several of these stories mentioned a sensation, sort of like a large cat jumping on the bed and walking around, that accompanied the Incubus visit. After reading this, I felt I could no longer dismiss my experience as a dream because I had been experiencing this exact same sensation for some time, but has dismissed it as my imagination. I slept on the sofa for about a week after the experience, but eventually started sleeping in the bed again. I've not had any other experiences since. I haven't even had the sex dreams. I didn't experience the bed jumping and walking for a while now, but that's recently started to occur again. Should I be worried that he'll return?